everybody. This next QuickTime screencast is going to explain all of the information that's in the Horning PLC and how to access it. So the first step is to go into My Drive. You're going to then find the Horning PLC folder that you moved from the Shared With Me. You want to make sure that you move it from the Shared With Me first. If you need help with that, go to that learning module or that screencast that we have available to you. So you go to the Horning PLCs, that folder, you're going to open it up, and all of these folders and all this information is shared with you. It's all inside that Horning PLCs, and you can see it's inside that folder because it has that arrow down, and that's how Google organizes those folders. So the first thing that you can look at is the PLC launch. If you want to go through those first two learning sessions and see all the slides, see some of the embedded video that's in it, by all means, go right ahead. You can do that. We are really trying to be as transparent as possible with all of the resources and all of the thinking that goes behind the professional development, and that's why that's in there. And we'll continue to add to that as well. You can also look at the typed up feedback that we looked for themes and trends together with during the second learning session. That's all in there. The rough draft of the PLs, the norms, and anticipated next steps for the PD is all in there as well. Again, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. So the two folders that you'll have to use every single time that your PLC meets would be these two. And the first thing that we're going to go over is the PLC notes. So you click on the PLC notes, and when you click on that, you're going to see your name. You're going to see all 7 PLCs in here. Everybody has access to these PLC notes, so you can look at different PLC notes. You can write comments on different PLC notes if you want to give some positive feedback. If you have questions, you could absolutely do that. And what I'm going to do is show you an example from a Java-like PLC that just started meeting last week. So we're going to go to the Intervention RTI PLC notes and open that up. And I'm just going to show you kind of our thinking behind what we did for the notes. So you're going to see Rachel, Jeff, Susan, and myself met. And I left the blank template here so that I can just eventually copy and paste this and have an ongoing document of all the notes, but I'll show you that in a little bit. So you scroll down, you can see this was our thinking, and this is how we recorded that thinking. What we did is we followed the plan, do, study, and act, and everybody's going to have the same template to write down the notes. And what we started with was the plan section. So we tried to think of problems, like how are we going to solve particular problems, and try to brainstorm certain predictions to those problems. So you can see here that we noticed that we need more systematic plan and language to really identify how students move between the RTI tiers for both math and reading. And we're trying to work for consistent and clear communication between all stakeholders. That's the plan. And then we took some notes on the actual doing, what that's going to look like. And in my head, I think of the do section as our homework, what we're going to come to the next PLC having completed. So Jeff is going to work on the systematic plan model, and we linked that model or example right here so that when we're at different meetings, we can easily access it. Also, to be as transparent as possible with administration when they look at this, these notes, and other teachers possibly. I did some reading intervention assessment folder work. All of the reading assessments, the standardized assessments that we'll be giving to students are in that folder. So I wanted to make sure that I recorded that. And also Rachel told us about a student-driven digital portfolio called Seesaw. So our homework is to research that seesaw.com a little bit more and see if it's something that we want to use with all students who are in reading or math interventions. Then we brainstormed what we're going to study, what's going to be the data that we're going to bring to that next meeting. And we decided that we're going to get some teacher feedback on September 8th when we meet with all the reading intervention teachers to figure out if the assessment folder works for them, if that works for students. And then we also want to get some administration and teacher feedback on the systematic plan for RTI that Jeff is helping organize and spearhead. You notice that we don't have anything in the act or action section. Reason being is that's where we're going to start our next meeting. We're not quite sure about the study part yet. That's what's going to start our very next meeting. So I'm anticipating next week when we meet, we're going to start with the study section, look at that feedback, and then plan initial steps for ACT. So I'm predicting that one of the action steps is probably going to be further PD or learning sessions around those assessments that are in that reading intervention folder, because it might be new information for some teachers. And that's going to go in the action step. Otherwise, maybe some teachers might say, this assessment folder doesn't work for me. It has to be organized a different way. That's going to be an action step over here. We're going to see how this template for PLC notes works. If it doesn't work for the PLCs, we can always change it. But my thinking about it right now is that I'm actually really liking it because it's pushing my thinking to go through the whole entire cycle of continuous improvement. I think of past years, and I probably would have thought about the plan and the do and kind of stayed there in my job alike or grade level meetings and maybe done a little bit of studying the data, but really stayed in those first two quadrants. And I can see the power of, as a team, especially an interdisciplinary team, moving through all four of these ideas and action plans so that we keep moving forward. So I'm really excited about it. I think some really powerful things are going to happen because of this. And I can see the power of each of the 7 PLCs sharing out and making very public how it's helping and helping students and being able to share. So if you have questions about the Plan, Do, Study, Act, because as I reflect on our first 2 learning sessions about the PLC, this is something that I wish we'd had more time to really focus on and have you think about. But we will definitely talk more about this in Coach's Corner and upcoming learning sessions and also within PLCs. But if you have some questions about it, hyperlinked in every single one of the PLC note templates is a Plan, Do, Study, Act document. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to a page that just has a screenshot from a website. But it really helped me understand what each of these steps is really all about and the power of the PLC. So the first step would be to plan a change. So for example, some of you eventually might think about the power of the instructional strategy of conferring with students and doing that across disciplines. So the team is going to say, okay, we want to confer. We have some predictions that is going to maybe help us differentiate our instruction. It's going to help us know our students at a different level, deeper level. And then we are going to develop a plan. So we're going to create a standardized conferring form or at least some standardized questions that we're going to ask students to write about when they come to our conferring session. We're going to try that out. That would go in the plan section of the notes. And then to do the strategy, again, if I'm thinking of this correctly, that would be your homework. So what are you going to do before that next PLC? Or if you would be doing something like conferring, maybe that would take like a week or a week and a half, and then you'd bring that information to the PLC. You wouldn't bring it the very next day because that would be really, it would be tough, too short of a turnaround. So then you would do the strategy. You might help each other out in classrooms and be like, okay, I know you've done conferring before. Can I come and see you doing that with your students? And how do your students talk to you? What kind of questions do you ask? What do you have them write about? What does that look like? Or maybe, could you come to my classroom and show that with my own students, or kind of sit by me as I try it out and then give me some help along the way? Some PLCs might do that. That might be really wonderful learning. And then you collect some information. So you collect students writing about the conferring. You would collect your conferring notes, and you would bring all of that to the PLC. Then you're going to study it. You're going to analyze that data. What did the conferring notes look like? Compare those notes with each other. What did your students write about to prepare for the conference? What did that look like? Did it work for you? What didn't work? That would be studying the strategy and taking some notes in that section of your PLC notes. And then would be acting on the next change. So you might have to modify your conferring note sheet. Maybe it didn't help you push your students' thinking forward. Or maybe you needed to ask different type of prompting questions during the conference. Like maybe as a PLC, you've realized that the conference with the students is more teacher-driven and you want it to be more student-driven, where the student does most of the talking and the teacher does a lot of the listening and the prompting. So that's just an example, but that's where I can kind of envision some of those PLCs going this year, and then the power of those PLCs sharing with the different groups. There'll be a lot of really excellent things happening with that, especially for student achievement. Okay, so that's the Plan, Do, Study, Act reference or resource that you can look at. And then what you can do is there's a couple different ways that you can copy and paste the template. You could always leave one template blank on your ongoing note sheet, and that's as simple as highlighting this and then going to Command and C to copy it, scrolling down, see if I've already done it once, scrolling down to the next page, hitting Command and V for paste, and then it's right there. So we can keep an ongoing log of our thinking. What I like about this as well is since everybody has access to this, it's very open. You can see that Sharon had a comment for us. We know that she's going to plan to attend next Friday to see some of this feedback and to maybe help us with some of those initial action steps. And to make a comment, you simply highlight, go up to the comment section, click on comment, you hit comment, and then you write, and it magically appears on that right-hand side. You could do that with other PLCs, I guess, if you wanted to, or within your own PLC, and you can easily answer what somebody is thinking. So you can see Sharon is going to be there on Friday, and then I had a question for her, so I just clicked on comment and was able to ask her a question as well, and then that's sent to her email so that she's able to respond to it. So that's the PLC notes. In our next module, what we're going to do is go through the norms. So if you have some questions about the norms, make sure that you look at the next screencast. Thank you so much.